Good morning, everyone, and happy Wednesday. We'll give everyone a minute to join before we begin this. Yes, there will be a recording of this session, and the recording will be sent to everyone after the session is done. Awesome. Let's go ahead and kick off things here in this new year. Firstly, thanks everyone for joining us today for our webinar on Fieldwire basics on using basically using Fieldwire on your mobile devices. My name is Pranati Gompa and I am a program manager here at Fieldwire. Before we begin, I would like to address a few housekeeping items. To ensure a smooth session, all the attendees will be muted, but please don't hesitate to ask any questions you may have in the Q&A panel on the bar on the right. We will have a Q&A session at the end of each sections. We've divided this presentation into two sections. So at the end of each section, we'll have a Q&A session, and we will do our best to address as many questions as we can. And for any questions we don't get to, our experts will reach out to you directly. We also have some poll questions during the webinar for you to participate in. Please feel free to select the answers when those questions pop up. Additionally, we have a short 5-question survey at the end of the webinar, which we would really appreciate if you could fill it out. This survey helps us to determine the usefulness of the content we deliver and also helps us plan for our future webinars. So before we dive in, let's get started with a couple of poll questions. And there we go, the first question. Just want to understand what type of company do you work for? A quick click. Yeah, anyone who just joined, there's a quick poll question here. A quick click on what type of company you work for. Perfect. Thank you so much for answering that. I have another quick question here before we go to the next one, which is what is your role at your company? Just a quick idea of what is your role. Awesome. Thank you so much for answering that as well. And without further ado, I would like to welcome Anderson here. Anderson is our CSM, and there you go, Anderson.
Thanks, Pranati, and thank you everyone for joining the webinar today. My name is Anderson. I'll be running today's webinar. I am a CSM here at Fieldwire. A little bit about me and my background. I studied civil engineering at Notre Dame. So as you can imagine, I'm super excited for the national championship on Monday. A bit about my previous work experience. I spent some time working for large general contractors out in the San Diego area. So in my time working for GCs, I got to experience a lot of interesting and unique projects, including a border crossing, a high-rise college dormitory, and a hospital renovation. And a fun fact about me, I actually used Fieldwire as a GC, so that was my first introduction to the platform. Our agenda for today, so we just did our intros. I'll go into a brief Fieldwire overview for those who are new to the platform, and then we'll get into our live demo. So what is Fieldwire? Primarily, Fieldwire is a platform that connects the field and the office. Our platform allows for real-time communication among your project team and easy documentation right out on the job site. We help you accomplish this communication and documentation through our various features that you see listed here, including our plans, task management, custom forms, and photos, many of which we'll cover in today's webinar. So our focus for today, we are going to focus on using the Fieldwire app. I'll be working and demoing today out of an iPad, so keep in mind I'll be showing the iOS app. For those who are Android users, the user interface may be slightly different in some cases, but all the functionality will be the same. As far as the features that will be covered, I'm going to focus on those key features that our customers are using most frequently out in the field on the mobile app. So we'll start by covering plans, tasks, and photos. As Pranathi mentioned, we'll have a brief break after that for a bit of Q&A. And then we'll get into our second section where I'll cover files and custom forms. Keep in mind, most of these features are available on our Pro tier and up, so everybody has access to these features that I'll be covering today. That being said, the custom forms are only available on our business tier and up. So let's go ahead and get into our demo. Awesome. So starting from the top, when you open your Fieldwire app, you're going to see your home page here. So the home page is where you can access all of your projects, and it's also where you can access your notifications here in the top left corner. Notifications are super important for communicating with your team and seeing updates when it comes to tasks and plans. As far as your project list here, you'll see all of the projects that have been downloaded to your device at the top. In order to download a project to start using it on our app, you will need to be connected to Wi-Fi. So keep that in mind and make sure you're downloading these when you're at the office or when you otherwise have access to a Wi-Fi connection. Downloading a project is pretty simple. You're just going to click on the project and then select Enable. Now, I recommend only keeping your active projects downloaded. That way you can save storage space on your device. So once a project ends, you'll want to remove it from your device. So to do that, you'll just press and hold on the project and select Remove from Device. So pretty simple in terms of managing what is actually downloaded onto your particular iPad or phone. We'll go ahead and click into our project here. So when you open up a project in Fieldwire, you're going to see this toolbar on the left. This is going to give you access to all of our various modules in Fieldwire. So we'll start by clicking into the plans here. As you can see, our plans tab is the space where you can access all of your project plans. So rather than needing to print these out and carry them to the job site or sift through a bunch of confusing folders, it's all laid out for you quite clearly. And it's pretty easy to scroll and navigate around this tab. Some tips and tricks that will help you with navigation. You can use this button here to collapse and expand your folders. You can also selectively expand and collapse folders if you're looking for a specific discipline. If we open up a specific plan in here, navigating around the plan sheets is very similar to navigating photos in your phone. So you can swipe from right to left to flip between your plans, and you can use your fingers to zoom in and out and pan around the plan sheet. Coming back out to our main page here on the plans, a couple other helpful tools. You can use this search function here to search for a specific plan name, and you can also search for a specific word in here. And our scanner is going to use AI to read through all the plans for any mention of that word. So that can be really helpful if you're looking for a specific call out or detail, but you can't remember exactly what sheet it's on. And lastly, we have this clock icon here in the top right. So this is going to show you your recently viewed plans. This can be super helpful if you're pulling up a lot of different plan sheets and bouncing between your various plans. Now on our sheet here, one other thing you may notice is our detail callouts have these red highlights. So these correspond to hyperlinks. When you upload a plan in Fieldwire, our scanner is going to read for the callouts and automatically apply these hyperlinks. So if I want to access one of these details or elevation sheets, I can simply click on the link and it will bring up that linked page. So I can navigate around here, view some of the details in my elevation sheet. And then when I'm done, I'll simply click done, and that's going to bring me back to where I started. So as you can see, the Plans tab is designed for really easy navigation on the go, whether you're pulling this up on your iPad or your phone. Now clicking back into a specific plan sheet here, one thing you'll notice in the bottom left corner is our different versions here. So as you get updates to your drawing set throughout the course of a job, somebody from your team, a project admin, will upload those plan updates to the Fieldwire project, and they'll be able to automatically slip sheet those updates. So when you get an update, you'll be able to see that slip sheeted, and you can reference all of the previous versions here. So I can see here I'm looking at revision 2, but I can always pull up revision 1 to see that history and context. As you can see, when I'm looking at an old version, you'll see this watermark here, and this is just going to prevent you or anyone on your team from working off an outdated plan sheet. Now, the other key feature that you get here in the version control is this compare tool. So comparing can be super helpful as a quick gut check in the field. This is going to allow you to overlay two sheets and see their differences. So I'll go ahead and compare my two revisions here, but keep in mind, you can also overlay two different sheets. So this can be helpful, for example, if you want to overlay your electrical sheet over your architecturals. So I'll go ahead and click next. I'm going to be brought to this page where I can realign my sheets if I need to using these arrows. This looks perfect and aligned, so I'm just going to click compare here in the top right. Okay, so now I'm here in compare mode, and as you can see, my team has been making use of the markups and putting a lot of good info on this sheet, but when I'm trying to compare, it's a little bit messy and hard to read. So if you are on a team right now that's actively using markups, this is going to be a super helpful tool for you. And this is the eye icon here in the top left. So you can use this eye icon to selectively toggle on and off all of your various markup types. So I can turn all of my layers off at once, but if I want to look at a specific markup on here, I can toggle these selectively as well. So the layers are super helpful, especially if your team is leveraging markups and you're marking up all of your plans. This will always give you a clean view without changing or modifying those markups. So now that we've cleared away the markups, it's a little bit easier to see the comparison we're making here. So as you can see with our color code in the bottom left corner here, blue is new and red is dead. So it's really clear and easy to see. We've added in some new walls with this drawing update, and we've removed some walls. So the comparing tool, again, is super helpful for a gut check out in the field, and you can do this on the web as well. Once you're done comparing, you'll just click done, and that's going to bring you to your main sheet here. Awesome. So the next thing to cover in our plans is our markup toolbar. So to make markups on the plans like you see here, you can access your markup toolbar in the bottom right corner. You can collapse and expand it like so. And then you can leverage all of these great markup options. So some of the options we have a hyperlink tool here. So this allows you to add additional plan hyperlinks. You can also drop a photo straight to the floor plans. This can be really helpful for something like a site walk where you're just gathering those existing conditions and you want to link exactly where the photo occurs on the floor plan. And then you can also link files and forms in here. Additionally, we have some different highlights, lines, and arrows. We have our shapes in here, including clouds. And then we also have these markup symbols. So these are more trade specific. This can be really helpful for creating as-built in real time and also doing takeoffs. And for those specialty trades who are calling in today, take a look at these markup symbols. If there's anything that you think is missing from here that would be super helpful to do your work, please shoot me an email after this webinar and I can submit that to our product team. Beyond the markup symbols, we also have a text option in here and a measurement tool. Something pretty neat about our measurement tool, if you have a scale in the title block of your sheet, our scanner is going to read for that and automatically calibrate your measurements. That being said, if you don't have a scale on a particular drawing sheet, you can always set it manually using this button here. Now down below, you're going to see your color options here. So we have a handful of different markup colors that you can use. I've seen teams use this in a number of ways. You can assign out colors to specific trades or types of work installed if you're creating as-builts. I've also seen teams assign a color to each person. That way you have a quick visual indicator of who made what markup. Keep in mind that by design, these markups are meant to be collaborative. So when you make a markup on the plans, it will be visible to your full team. That's something that is important to us to foster that communication and essentially have all of the data available for everyone on the project. That being said, if you do want to make a note that's just for yourself, you can leverage our private markup option here, and that will only be visible to you. So we'll pause here. That was an overview of navigating and marking up the plans. We'll have a quick poll question before we get into our tasks. Awesome. So the question here is, what's the easiest way for you to communicate on the job site? Awesome. Okay, so coming back into our project here, I ask about communication because our tasks tool is a great way to communicate within the Fieldwire platform. It can be especially helpful for communication of any deficiencies or conflicts or things that may be holding up or preventing your work. So let's imagine that I'm here on the job site and I have some work to install, but I noticed that there's a conflict that was not expected. So to document this conflict, I'm going to come back to my toolbar here, and I'm going to select this task pin option. From here, I can drop a task pin exactly where that conflict occurs. So now I'm tracking it to the specific location on my plan sheet. When I drop that pin, that will automatically create a task where I can log the information. So to fill out some of the attributes here, I'm going to click into the title here, and that's going to bring me to my attributes page. So from here, I'll give this a title that's going to describe the situation. And then I can populate a status. I'll call this one on hold because it's currently holding up my work. And I can also give this a category. So maybe there's a plumbing line here that's preventing me from working. So I want to make sure I'm alerting my plumbing team. Now keep in mind, these statuses that you see here, as well as the categories, are completely customizable. So for those who are actively using tasks, your statuses and categories might look a little different. And for those who are new to tasks, if you haven't used it before, keep in mind you can customize this to match your existing workflow. Now I can go through and populate some additional details in here. I'll give this a start and end date of today because I want to get this resolved quickly. And then also keep in mind for those on the business tier and up, you can also create custom task attributes. So everything you're seeing here is pre-built into our platform, but on the business tier and up, you can actually create your own attributes. So this can be really helpful for tracking specific quantities, or if you want to put in company names in with your tasks, you can create those with the custom task attributes. So once I've populated some of the details in my task, I'll click back out to this task page here. This is where I can see the title, I can see the plan sheet that it's linked to, and then I have some communication tools down below. So for those who answered the poll question that they prefer to text as a way to communicate on the job site, pay attention to our task chat here, because I think you'll find the task chat is very similar to texting. So it's really quick and easy. I can tag my coworkers in here, and that's going to give them a notification. I can send a quick message, and lost my task here. Let's do that one more time. I'm Bob. So I'll send a quick message to Bob just so that he's alerted of this conflict. So when I post my message here, this is going to give Bob a push notification. It's going to pop up on his phone just like a text would. So effectively, very similar mode of communication. The added benefit that you get of communicating in here in the task chat is that this is all automatically documented. So it may not seem like a huge difference to text Bob than to put it in the chat. But imagine 3 months down the road, or even longer, years down the road, if there's ever a question about what happened with this conflict and who was actually holding up the work, it's really easy to find and pinpoint this task. And then you have the full history in here of documentation. So that just helps you back up yourself and your work that much better. And it wouldn't be quality documentation without some photos of the conditions. So we'll go ahead and use our photo icon here, and we'll pull up our camera to snap a couple of photos. So I can take my iPad here and snap some pictures of the job site conditions. Now keep in mind, you can take multiple photos in here, and when you're done, you'll simply click the X. So you don't need to take one at a time. You can snap as many as you need. And then further, I can pull up these photos and actually mark them up. So I can add additional context in here of what the conflict is and why it's a problem. Some other features within our task here, we have this plus button here. This will allow you to link additional context to further log the information in this task. So you can add files, forms, and you can also pull in checklists. And then lastly, this share button here allows you to export this task and share it with other members of your team who may or may not have access to Fieldwire. So if you ever want to share this with someone outside of Fieldwire, you'll want to select the PDF option, and that will be shareable to anyone via email or text. Awesome. So that is how you can drop a task pin to log a specific issue. But what if you want to look at your complete task list? So to do that, you're actually going to come out of your plans here and navigate using our toolbar to the Tasks tab. So the Tasks tab is where you're going to see that full task list. Now this is super important and this comes up a lot. As you can see here, it looks like I don't have any tasks on this project. So one thing to keep in mind is that on the app, it's going to automatically filter to tasks assigned to me. So if you're not using the assignee field, sometimes it will look like all of your tasks disappeared. If this happens, the first thing you should check is what filter is applied. So you can see your task filters just below our toolbar here, and you'll just want to make sure you have all tasks selected, and that way you can see your full list. Navigating around the tasks list is pretty similar to our plans. We can expand and collapse our various sections in here, and we can also leverage the search function to find a specific task or specific content within the task. If you want to create a task that is not associated with a plan, rather than dropping a pin like I just demonstrated, you can just press the plus button here within the Tasks tab, and that will allow you to create a task that is not associated with a plan sheet. It's just visible here in the task page. As I mentioned previously, we also have these filters that you can leverage here on the left. So these filters correspond to the different categories that I've assigned to my tasks. So again, as a reminder, these categories are totally custom, so you can create your own categories that help you divide up your work in a way that makes sense. But these filtered views can be super helpful for paring down exactly what you need to focus on any particular day. And then the last feature that I want to highlight when it comes to navigating the Tasks tab is here in the bottom left corner. This is a super important and helpful feature for anyone who uses tasks regularly. So if you are zoning out at all, please zone back in for this one. This is going to help you a ton. And this is sorting your tasks. So as you can see, our tasks are going to automatically sort by status. But sometimes I may not want to prioritize my list that way. So for example, maybe one week I'm a little bit behind and I'm really focused on deadlines. So I want to sort my tasks by their dates. That way I can see a complete list of what's coming up due the soonest, and I can prioritize that way. Now, maybe another day later on in the project, I'm working on punch list, and I want to make sure all of my different trades are staying up to date on their punch items. So maybe now I want to organize by category. And now I can see all of the different trades and what tasks they are associated with. So as you can see, the sorting is a super powerful tool for getting an organized and prioritized task list in a way that is most beneficial to you. One more thing I'd like to cover on the task details here is our checklists. So I mentioned checklists previously. Let's take a look at a task that has a checklist loaded in. So keep in mind the checklists do need to be set up on the web. So somebody on the web or office side will create these, but you can pull these into all of your Fieldwire projects. And then like I mentioned before, this plus button is where you'll actually load in your checklist. Checklists can be used for more granular task tracking. So a couple common applications like you see here would be for an inspection process. I've also seen checklists used in a punch list process if you're tracking, say, a room to punch and you have all of your different items to check off in the list. So a lot of different applications here, but essentially it's just a way to drill down a little more into your tasks. As far as populating this, it's pretty simple. You can click once to check yes. You can click twice for no, and then 3 times is not applicable. And you'll notice as I'm checking these off, it's also notating the user who took that action. So this is also helpful to share this information with your team and see who is checking off these items. Awesome. So that's an overview of our task details and information in here. Now, once you've gathered all of this great data from the field, what do you do with it? How do you share this with your team in a meaningful way? So we have a task reporting feature that allows you to filter and organize all of this information that you're collecting via tasks and share it with the appropriate team members. So similar to our checklist, the reports do need to be configured on the web, but they can be pulled into all of your projects. And you can send reports, once they're pulled into a job, you can send them out straight from the app. So to send a task report, you're going to click this share button here in the bottom, and you'll see your different reports that are loaded into your project. So you'll simply select the report you want to send. At this point, you can add additional recipients if you need to, and then you'll click send. So that's going to take all of my task data filtered out for the punch items and send an email of a task report to my list here. So that's an overview of our tasks. Again, to recap, okay. Looks like QuickTime just froze for a second. Let me see if I can get this to work. Okay, as I'm resetting QuickTime here, just to review again, with the tasks, we covered dropping a task pin and managing your task list.
Perfect. As you're setting that up, let's take a few questions here, Anderson. The first question we have a couple of questions on this, which is when you remove the project from a device, does it, one, remain for everyone else? And then two, can you re-download it?
Yes, great question. So when you remove a project from your device, it does remain for everyone else. It only is removing that from your specific phone or iPad. And then you can re-download a project. So once you remove it, you'll see it back on the grayed out list, and you can always download it again if it's necessary.
Perfect. Thank you on that. The next question we have is, are there any of the markups we do that are like basically the markups that we do? One, are they published immediately? And two, what happens when a new version is uploaded? Do they transfer to the most latest version?
Yes. So the markups will be visible immediately in real time for your project teams. And then as far as slip sheeting new versions, all of your markups do get lifted to the latest and greatest version.
Perfect. I think your screen is back. I would let you finish up on the tasks.
Awesome. Thanks, Pranathi. Yeah, thanks for bearing with me there. So we've got our screen up and running again. So in terms of tasks, again, just to recap, we covered both dropping a task pin on your plans and navigating through this task list. So the next feature I'll cover before we take another little break for Q&A is our Photos tab. So as you can see so far, I've shown you can link a photo to your floor plans, and you can also attach photos to your tasks. So the Photos tab is going to be a space where you can access all of the photos, whether they've been added to the plans, the tasks, or forms even, which we'll see momentarily. So your Photos tab here is going to show you all of the photos that have been added to your project. You can also upload photos directly to here if you don't want to associate it with any plan or task. These photos are going to be organized by date of upload, so that's also a way that you can kind of navigate and find the exact timeline and photos you're looking for. So that's our Photos tab. And we'll take another quick break to take a couple more questions before we get into our second section.
Perfect, thank you. So the next question that I have is, when you take photos and tasks, does it automatically add those photos to the photo section?
Great question. Yes, these are going to be automatically added. And the same goes for plans and forms.
Perfect. Can you go back to your plans tab and can you switch between the thumbnails and like the list? There were a couple of questions if they can see it between the lists and thumbnails.
Pranathi, can you help me out here? Is there a way to change the thumbnails?
Thought there was, but doesn't look like it. But yeah, we can expand a specific folder.
Yeah, I think what may be coming up, if you're following along on your phone, you'll see a list. So I think it's just about the size of the screen you're looking at.
That makes sense. Thank you. And the next question I have is there a way to add video to recording the task? Like instead of a photo, can you add a video to it?
Yeah, great question. So you can upload a video, but it takes, there are two ways you can do it. You can either, I'm sorry, I take that back. There's only one way that you can do this. So it's a couple steps. So you would have to upload the video directly to your Photos tab first. So this is where you'd go to upload that. And then once it's already on here, you can pull it into a task. So if you open up your task and click on the camera icon, rather than selecting camera, you would select existing photos, and then you can pull from that repository.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And can the photos be collapsed by date?
Yes, they can. So you'll have a similar button here. My photos are all from one date, but as you start to add more photos throughout the course of a job, they'll be separated into sections by date, and you can expand and collapse them.
Thank you so much. We have an overwhelming amount of questions, and we will answer all of your questions via an email. And I will give the screen back to Anderson to continue with her presentation.
Awesome. Thanks, Pranathi, and thank you all for your questions. Really appreciate the engagement. So the next section we'll cover here is our Files tab. So Files is a place where you can access any PDF documentation that's relevant to your project. So your team can upload files here under specific folders, and then on the app, you can navigate to your Files tab, and you can look around in these folders and pull up your different files. So I'll take a punch report here. Now to blow this up and view this in full screen, I'm going to click on these three dots. So now I'm in viewing mode, so I can scroll through and view the PDF document. If I want to make any markups to this, I can click this drop down here, and I can select between different markup types in here. So I'll go into annotate mode in here. From here, I can add different highlights. I can also add in text and notes. And this is just going to automatically save and update in the files. Once I'm done, I'll just click done to go back. One thing to keep in mind with files as well, as you can see, there's an Excel file in here. So you can absolutely upload Excel files into this section, but you won't be able to view them in the Fieldwire app. When you pull this up on web, oh, okay. I'm sorry. So you won't be able to, I guess, edit or update these. When you pull it up on web in an Excel file, it's just going to open up a separate file. So that's just a bit about how our platform works in reading different file types. My recommendation and kind of best practice, as much as you can, upload PDFs in here because it's just a lot easier to view and edit those PDFs directly in the app. Awesome. And then before we get into our last section for the day relating to our forms, we have one more poll question for the group. So our question here is, how do you currently process your forms, such as dailies or safety reports on your job site? So we have some different options in here. Pen and paper, email, Fieldwire forms, or other softwares. And we're kind of focused in here on, the job site documentation. So things that you might be filling out in the field. Also, all right, great. So we ask about forms because we do have a module within Fieldwire. Again, keep in mind this is available on the Business and Business Plus tiers, but this module, Custom Forms, will allow you to easily fill out and process your forms right within the Fieldwire app. So if we open up our Forms tab here, we can see all of our various forms separated into folders. And then we can see how many forms have been filled out under each section. You can think of your form templates just like the checklists and the reports that I mentioned. So these templates need to be configured by a project admin on the web side, but you can pull your templates into every project so that you can use them and standardize them across your jobs. Now, navigating through these forms, I can always open up an existing form that's been previously created. So this can be helpful for something like a timesheet, for example. If you're coming in and filling out the timesheet every day, and then you submit at the end of the week on Friday, you can just leave your timesheet in draft form, and you can keep coming back to the same sheet to add additional details. When you want to create a new form in here, you'll press the plus button here, and you'll select from your template. So again, keep in mind, these are totally custom. So these examples are just some of our most common form applications. These 5 forms are actually pre-built and ready for you to use in the Fieldwire projects. That being said, there's really no limit to how you can apply this. So if you have very specific forms or specific format that you need to follow, you can create your own custom templates in here. We also recently released a fillable PDF option. So you can actually upload a fillable PDF as a template and process those in our Forms tab as well. So that makes it just that much easier to get the formatting exactly how you'd like when it comes to this type of paperwork. So I'll go ahead and select my template. I'm going to fill out a daily report here, and then I will give my form a title. When I click done, that's going to open up my new form here on the right. So I can start to populate some of these details. Just start filling out my information here. As you can see, it's pretty quick and easy to populate the content into these forms. We also have space for attachments. So again, for getting those real-time photos, it's pretty easy to pull up and access your photos here and link them straight to your form. And then lastly, a really cool tool that we have with our forms is this signature option. So you can sign as yourself or someone else. The someone else application is super helpful when you're collecting a signature, right? So something like a T&M sheet or material tracking, it can be really helpful to collect those signatures in the Fieldwire platform. For the daily application, I'll go ahead and sign as myself. So we'll see this trackpad. I can write my signature in here. And when I click sign, we'll see this is also going to log with a date and time stamp of when that signature was collected. When I'm done populating my form details in here, I will update the status to submitted, and now my form is complete. So the benefit of doing this within Fieldwire, not only is it easy to create and fill out a new form, but also this is now instantly available to my team back in the office. So they can come in real time and reference the daily report that I just filled out. So it can be a huge time saver, especially if you're using like the pen and paper or email method today, rather than having to snap a photo, link it to an email, send it to the appropriate people. This form is just readily available and showing as submitted in real time. That being said, if you ever need to share this outside of Fieldwire, let's say I'm a subcontractor and I want to show this to my GC, but they don't have Fieldwire, I can always export this as well by clicking the 3 dots here at the top. So this looks kind of familiar to exporting a task. The same principle will apply. If you want to share this with someone who's not on Fieldwire, select the PDF option, and that will make it shareable and visible to anyone you'd like. So we have our PDF here, and then the last step is the share button. And then you can use your preferred mail app to send this PDF form out. So that is it for our forms. Again, to recap this last section, we covered viewing and annotating our files. And then we also covered filling out our custom forms. One last thing I'll just shout out, we won't go into detail on this, but for those on our Business Plus tier, you'll also see the RFI and submittal modules in here. So that's where you can go to reference that specific project paperwork. But that concludes our webinar for today. That concludes all the features I want to cover. So we'll take another break here for our Q&A.
Perfect. Thanks, Anderson. Let's go over a couple of questions here on forms specifically. Firstly, are the form statuses configurable?
Great question. Yes, they are configurable. So when you build your form templates, you'll also see an option to adjust or change your statuses. So they come pre-built with draft and submitted, but you can add in additional statuses such as reviewed or approved, so you can make this fit any workflow you need.
Perfect. Thank you. And the next question on the same lines is, can forms format be customized?
Yeah, so in terms of the formatting, if you're going to use a standard Fieldwire template, the format is set. So the format as a PDF, again, we'll just pull this up. This is how that format is going to look. That being said, if you want a more custom format or you want to have more control over the view of this, I would use the fillable PDF option. So that way you can simply upload the PDF exactly how you'd like it to be formatted and process your forms that way.
Perfect. Thank you, Anderson. I also want to add, a bunch of you have voted that you're still using PDF forms. There is an option on Fieldwire to add your PDF form into Fieldwire and then just like use it within the same Fieldwire interface so that you don't have to open another app. And you can always explore that option on our web version. Just upload your PDF forms and you'll have it as a form the same way you see the other forms here. And these forms that you see on the left are the ones that we pre-built. But if you have a template that you specifically want or a different kind of form, may it be like a toolbox talk or like a safety form, you can always create your own forms within Fieldwire. Awesome. There is another question for you. I saw a QR code on export for forms. Is this available for drawings?
Yes, great question. You can export a QR code for the plans as well. So if we navigate to a plan sheet here and click on this share button in the top right corner, we'll see a handful of different options for how we can export the plans. And we've got our QR code here.
Perfect. Yes, the QR code is pretty consistent for all the features. You can do it for task, you can do it for plan, you can do it for forms. So that's just another option that you have to export your items from Fieldwire to outside. Awesome, we are at time. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. And thank you so much, Anderson, for taking this time and walking everyone through Fieldwire app here. I will send the recording to all of you. And for the questions that we didn't get to, firstly, thank you so much for an overwhelming engagement. For all the questions that we didn't get to, please expect to see an email with replies in the next day or two. And thank you so much. Have a good day and happy Wednesday.
Thanks, everyone.